All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a massive shift that's happening right now in how we actually research investments. We're going to break down a platform called AlphaOS, and it is fundamentally rewiring the traditional approach to market analysis. Because look, if you've ever felt like standard stock screeners are just feeding you the exact same surface level data as everyone else, you are going to find this absolutely fascinating. We're moving way beyond isolated tickers and diving into how connected intelligence really works. So think about it. What happens after the obvious trade? Consider the massive gap between spotting a popular headline-grabbing stock and actually understanding the hidden market movements that trigger underneath the surface. When a major macro event hits, capital doesn't just stop at one single company, right? It flows like water through this incredibly complex network of industries. But the problem is, most research tools just aren't built to show you where that water is going next. And honestly, that brings us to the fundamental flaw in standard market research. We call it first-order thinking. This is the ultimate trap of just stopping at the obvious surface-level ticker. It's what happens when you spot a trend, find the most famous company associated with it, and, well, your analysis just ends right there. There's no broader context, no mapping of downstream effects or supply chain dependencies. You're basically staring at a single puzzle piece when you really need to be looking at the entire puzzle. Let's make this super concrete with the classic mental trap of this decade. You see AI in the news, you immediately think NVIDIA, literally just like everyone's uncle at Thanksgiving, and the investment thesis basically ends before the real map even begins. First-order thinking finds that obvious name, but the context is entirely missing, and because of that, you become completely blind to the hidden winners, to what's actually lurking inside your ETFs, and to the second-order beneficiaries that are quietly sweeping up massive amounts of capital. The contrast between the old way of doing things and the new approach is honestly night and day. Traditional platforms basically trap you in a world of isolated data points. You start with a single ticker, you look at static ratios, maybe some totally unconnected news headlines, and basic price charts. It's a very rigid, ticker-first mentality. But AlphaOS operates entirely on connected layers. We're talking dynamic relationship graphs that track themes, map out supply chains, and act as a true opportunity discovery engine. It's a completely different mental model for understanding the market. Section 1. Second-order intelligence, mapping the causal chain. Here's where it gets really interesting. The crucial point is how AlphaOS traces the entire flow of capital. Instead of just stopping at step 2, semiconductors, it maps the whole chain. You have huge AI capital expenditures flowing into semiconductors, which then dictates the build-out of massive data centers. Well, those data centers create an incredible surge in power demand. That demand severely stresses our physical grid infrastructure, which ultimately funnels capital straight down into utilities and power equipment. It's a continuous logical flow. By following that exact chain, we start unearthing the real hidden winners. We're talking about companies like Vertiv handling massive cooling requirements, or Eaton upgrading power infrastructure, alongside Equinix, NextEra Energy, and Constellation. It also reveals ETF exposure across funds like Grid and XLU, well beyond your standard semiconductor funds. And crucially, it maps the dependencies, things like TSMC fabrication limits, high bandwidth memory supply, and actual physical grid constraints. These are second-order beneficiaries that traditional screens just totally miss because the broader market hasn't priced them in yet. Section 2. Mapping Market Opportunities, the Discovery Engine. What's brilliant here is how thematic intelligence structures these massive macro narratives. Whether we're talking about AI electricity demand, defense modernization, or rare earth supply stress, the engine connects the abstract themes straight to actionable data. You instantly get the specific industries involved, the key players like Palantir or Lockheed for defense, and the crucial identified risks like budget cycle timing or geopolitical concentration for raw materials. The whole shebang is connected in one comprehensive view. And querying it is super intuitive. Say you ask, which industries benefit most from AI electricity demand? I really want to emphasize here, this is a structured research environment. It's not just a simple AI chatbot spitting out a conversational summary. It actually returns precise mathematical relationships, identifying cooling infrastructure, grid transformers, specific companies, and the exact ETF overlaps based directly on your query. Section 3. Hidden Portfolio Risks. The illusion of diversification. Okay, imagine logging into your brokerage account and realizing that a staggering 72% of your supposedly diversified holdings actually trace back to one single macro theme. You thought you were spread out safely, but almost 3/4 of your capital is heavily reliant on one thing. like AI infrastructure spending. AlphaOS completely unmasks this stealth exposure. Think about it. You might have 30% in utilities for stability, 25% in data center real estate for yield, some industrials for cyclical exposure, and semiconductors for growth. On paper, you are spread across 4 or 5 completely different sectors, but in reality, they all share the exact same underlying supply chain vulnerability, the AI buildout. If that theme falters, your carefully diversified portfolio effectively falls off a cliff together. There's a quote that hits the nail on the head here. Your portfolio may look diversified, but hidden concentration tells the real story. This is exactly why mapping out these deep dependencies isn't just a fun way to find new stocks to buy. It is absolutely critical for modern risk management. You have to know what is actually moving your money underneath the hood.
Section 4. The Compounding Intelligence Engine, an ever-growing defensible moat.
So, how does this engine actually get smarter? It compounds knowledge automatically. It's constantly ingesting official SEC filings, like annual 10K reports. It analyzes live earnings calls and processes breaking news in real time. But rather than just summarizing that news, it actively extracts and maps new relationships right into its existing graph, updating those opportunity clusters automatically. That means your defensibility as a researcher actually grows over time. The more data that flows in, the richer the graph becomes. You really see this compounding moat in action through the live intelligence feed. The platform genuinely feels alive. Just think about a timeline like this. An hour ago, a macro signal triggers for defense spending. 28 minutes ago, the exposure map updates for utilities benefiting from AI power. 14 minutes ago, a supply risk suddenly spikes for semiconductors. And just 2 minutes ago, a brand new opportunity cluster is detected. It literally surfaces these flags the precise moment the graph updates. Now, just a quick important reminder as we wrap up our explainer today, I must impartially note, as the source material strictly outlines, that AlphaOS provides structured intelligence, research, and analysis only. It is not providing financial or investment advice. It is simply a highly advanced tool for viewing the structural realities of the market. So here's the ultimate question to chew on for your own research approach. Are you going to keep stopping at that first hop, relying on isolated tickers and traditional screens? Or are you ready to map the hidden causal chain of the market and see where the capital is really flowing? At the end of the day, the edge goes to those who can see the connections everyone else is missing. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what's beneath the surface.